I dressed as an abusive heroine, and bound to the wife-chasing crematorium system. Just when I was gearing up, preparing to fight White Lotus and Green Tea, I made the idiot male protagonist regret it and embarked on the road of chasing his wife. My system is rotten. System, don't bother. Just let him die. By the outdoor pool of the luxury villa, a man and a woman stood in front of me. How can you push Evelyn Temple into the water? I didn't see you being so vicious. It was a good-looking man who spoke angrily at me, and the woman next to him was wet and red, like a wounded and wronged little white rabbit. The little white rabbit pulled the man's silverfish. Brother, don't be angry with your sister. Sister didn't mean to. Help. There's 2 lumps. I closed my eyes hard and accepted the fact that I had been in the bloody novel. Childhood sweethearts. Baby pro. Studying abroad. Now falling from the sky. Tricks and frames. Many misunderstandings. Discouragement. And friendship. Find out the truth. People have gone. Regret is beyond reach. Crematorium. Before the crossing, I was a people's teacher who had just taken up my post. Thinking of this, I am angry from my heart, and I have worked hard to test the career editor. The man's mouth was still horning. Alberta Nicholas, you apologized to Evelyn Temple. Today's incident, it's annoying. I couldn't bear it anymore, so I stepped forward and shook him a big ear scraper. Get out. Julius Eddy was blindfolded, covering her face and unable to say a word. Evelyn Temple beside him was stunned for a moment, and then said, Sister, how can you? Smack. I slapped Evelyn Temple again. Get out of here. Evelyn Temple's already red eyes turned even redder, and Julius Eddy finally reacted, pulling Evelyn Temple behind him. Alberta Nicholas, I really misjudged you. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I grabbed my phone and called the security guard, asking the security guard to blow the 2 goods out. Yes. The 2 of them are still in the original heroine's house. The security guard came quickly. Julius Eddy's expressions were intertwined in disbelief. His whole face was reddened, and he pointed at me, with trembling fingers as he was pushed away by the security guard. Evelyn Temple followed, trotting out and calling, Brother, brother, like a chick running after an old hen. I crossed my hands on my hips, and breathed a long sigh of relief. But suddenly a voice sounded in my head. Hello host, you have bound the wife-chasing crematorium system. Please follow the system prompts to complete the wife-chasing crematorium plot, and you can return to reality after all the plots are completed. You're a little too late for this system. Here is the first plot. On the first day of Alberta Nicholas' return home, Julius Eddy came to visit with Evelyn Temple, and Julius Eddy went to the bathroom. Evelyn Temple jumping into the pool and intending to blame Alberta Nicholas. Host, you need to stop. Stop. I hurriedly shut down the system. I mentally responded to it. System, this plot is over. The sound of the system's machinery paused. Heh. I felt a little weak. I slapped Julius Eddy and Evelyn Temple and drove them away. Ha, cool. Heh. I ignored this weird reaction. I silently calculated in my heart that according to the system, as long as I finish the plot, I can return to the real world. My career editor. My iron rice bowl. I immediately regained my fighting spirit. Isn't it a green tea woman with an idiot male protagonist? Isn't it just a crematorium for chasing my wife? I've been reading articles for many years, and it's not a piece of cake to go through a plot. I asked the system. I just ruined the first plot. It shouldn't have much impact. Can you tell me about the next plot? As is normal, there is an important dinner tomorrow that Alberta Nicholas will attend as Julius Eddy's fiancée, during which Evelyn Temple accidentally spilled red wine on Alberta Nicholas in the skirt. This skirt is a coming-of-age gift from Alberta Nicholas' mother, who is angry but Julius Eddy favors Evelyn Temple. The system voice paused. Damn, why is this male protagonist so stupid? I chimed in. Indeed. The system continues to sort out the plot. After this incident, Alberta Nicholas was very sad and ran back to her parents' house to cry. Julius Eddy was forced to come to the door to coax Alberta Nicholas. Alberta Nicholas remembering the forgiveness of Julius Eddy in years of friendship. Damn, this heroine is also sick in the brain. I nodded knowingly. Isn't it? Alberta Nicholas forgives Julius Eddy, and follows Julius Eddy back to his house, only to find that Evelyn Temple is also there, and is wearing Alberta the bathrobe that Nicholas wore before. It turned out that the two had already lived together, And the reason was that Evelyn Temple couldn't find a house after graduating from college. Damn, it's so troublesome. I don't want to leave this idiot plot. It's just, hey. Host, don't bother. Just let the male protagonist die. My system seems to be rotten. I tentatively said, system, don't bother. Just let me go home. No, I can't. The system was silent for a while. It's annoying. That's it, host. As long as it is logical to reach the finale. The ending is that the male protagonist and the female protagonist live happily together. Reach the finale, and I'll send you home. Something calls me. I'll touch the fish for a while. Okay, wrap it up on me. As long as you can go home. The plot is different. The male and female protagonists live happily together. Hiss. I think my relationship with Julius Eddy has eased a bit, and I've also reflected on myself. How can I do it as a people's teacher? It's noon, and I'm ordering a takeout and putting it in my lunchbox, ready to go to Julius Eddy's company to hand him a step and learn more about the world. By the way, the city is no different from a modern city. I came to Julius Eddy's company, and the front desk lady knew that I was Julius Eddy's fiancé, and took me directly to his office. The door opened. Julius Eddy sat at his desk. He frowned when he saw me coming, and then saw the lunchbox I was carrying and smiled sarcastically. You're here to apologize to me. Itchy hands. I didn't laugh. I really shouldn't have done it. Before I could finish my sentence, I was interrupted. Get out with your stuff. I don't want to see you right now. Shameless. I see you are hopeless. I slammed my lunchbox on his table and called out to the system in my heart. System, do I have a gold finger? In principle, no. But what kind of cheat do you want? I want to slap him to death. Okay, wait a minute. I somehow heard a hint of excitement in the mechanical sound. Julius Eddy glared at me. Alberta Nicholas, you are also a big girl. How did you become so unqualified? I smiled. Men are going to fight. Ding. Congratulations to the host binding force of Infinite Goldfinger. Host. Fan. I moved my wrist. And Julius Eddy seemed to sense something. And he looked at me with some horror. You can't. There was a crunch. And Julius Eddy was fanned out of her chair. The left side of his face swelled at a rate visible to the naked eye. He sat on the ground and covered his face. Alberta Nicholas, your domestic violence. I pinched my wrist. We don't have a family. How can it be considered domestic violence? He glared at me fiercely. You mean to hurt? I didn't care. And I replied, oh, then you go and call the police. He also seemed to feel a little embarrassed to be slapped by his fiancé to call the police, and got up from the ground with a grin. What the hell do you want to do? I pointed to the lunchbox. I'm here to bring you food. He snorted and pointed out the window. Julius Eddy, won't eat a bite of you even if I jump off here? I slapped the table, and the marble top was a spider web with a crack spreading outward around my palm. He took a bite. I nodded in satisfaction. Julius Eddy, you've got this, step down. Julius Eddy dared to pick up the rice in anger. Pitzel cysts. Host, this golden finger is a skill I grabbed from the upgrade monster fighting system next door. The system was silent for a moment. I took it with great difficulty. Thank you. I looked at Julius Eddy's swollen face and felt good. There was another silence, and a faint electronic voice sounded. Why don't you praise me? Woo. That's what it means. You're awesome. I adore you. HMPH. There was a knock on the door, and before Julius Eddy could respond, the man entered. It's Evelyn Temple, who is now Julius Eddy's secretary. Evelyn Temple came in and saw me stunned for a moment, then saw Julius Eddy's swollen face frozen in place. She was still quick to respond. Sister, how can you hit Julius Eddy again? Do you know how busy and tired Julius Eddy is in a day? And not only do you not care about him, but you beat him, you ruthless man. Annoyed, I raised my left hand, and gave Julius Eddy another blow to the right side of his face. Julius Eddy sat on the ground again. He covered his face aggrievedly. His mouth was still chewing, and tears flowed out. No, she said what you were doing with me. Ha 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 ha. The system let out a rhythmic laugh, symmetrical ha 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 ha. She's beautiful. I can't bear it. Then you're going to hit me. HMM. Seeing this, Evelyn Temple hurriedly ran over and helped Julius Eddy up. Julius Eddy, my sister is too violent. It's not like me. Julius Eddy watched me move my wrist and interrupted Evelyn Temple. That's enough. Don't say any more. Oh, it turns out that men can tell what T words and T words are. I ignored them, turned and left, given Julius Eddy the stares down. My purpose has been accomplished. I attended the banquet on time the next day, and Julius Eddy was wearing a big mask on her face, probably because she was slapped by me yesterday. Julius Eddy, it's cold. Yes, the flu has been more severe recently. With a glass of red wine, I watched Julius Eddy and the other guests mingle for a long time. Although this kid is emotionally like an idiot, he really doesn't have to pick and choose in terms of career ability. And after a while, he has verbally agreed on a project with an industry tycoon. Halfway through the feast, Julius Eddy's side fell silent, and I saw Evelyn Temple approaching me with a glass of red wine. Seeing her getting closer and closer to me, I said lightly, Evelyn Temple, if you spill a drop of this glass of wine on me, I'll slap your Julius Eddy to death. Julius Eddy, huh? Evelyn Temple froze in place. She looked at Julius Eddy's face and swallowed. Sister, why? How could I do such a thing? I've heard from the employees of the company that you once spilled coffee on Julius Eddy 12 times in a row. Evelyn Temple's eyes immediately reddened. I didn't mean to. Then she looked at Julius Eddy. Julius Eddy. Julius Eddy receives the signal. Alberta Nicholas. Evelyn Temple wasn't intentional before. I pinched my wrist as if smiling, and he watched my movements and said, there are so many people now. You can't do it. He looked around and seemed to have some confidence. Alberta Nicholas. How did you become so violent? Host. His skin is itchy. Hands-on is just the easiest and most effective way. And in this situation, I don't have a long mouth. I took a sip of wine to moisten my throat. Julius Eddy, you'd better pretend to be like you when I'm treating you as a human being. Julius Eddy didn't react for a moment. You grin widely. Open your mouth and close your mouth. That means that I have changed. And you use your head as a teapot, and you don't think about your own problems. Sister has been studying abroad for 2 years, and you have found yourself a beautiful secretary, who has just graduated from college to play office cosplay, and the old cow eats tender grass. Have you lost your face? Julius Eddy tried to interject. I'm just going to take Evelyn Temple. I won't give him a chance to interrupt me. Don't talk about self-deception like just treating her as a sister. You know what you think about Evelyn Temple. Don't think you're an idiot. You can treat someone else for an idiot. Ha 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 ha. Host. You speak slowly. The male protagonist can't react. Ha ha ha. Julius Eddy said incoherently. No. Shut up. You. 3 words. 5 nonsense. All adults don't excuse your dirty thoughts. Here I play a brother and sister relationship. If you are addicted to drama, you can earn $200 a day by going to the crew to act. It's better than disgusting me here. Julius Eddy tried to say something, but couldn't, so I kindly paused to give him a moment to organize the language. It's a pity he can't. With this kung fu of acting in front of me, why don't you find a corner and count your brain cells? You will have to die in a few hundred moments. Seeing that Julius Eddy couldn't say anything, Evelyn Temple couldn't stand still, and she spoke softly. Sister, Julius Eddy and I. Really not. I glanced at her. Are you slippers stuck in your throat? And a word can break into 4 petals. Ha, 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 ha. Evelyn Temple shut up. Seeing me slap Evelyn Temple, Julius Eddy is finally online. Alberta Nicholas, do you have any qualities? No. You have quality. You. Okay Julius Eddy, I scolded you. You can't say a word. I said Evelyn Temple, you jumped to your feet, so let's go. I'm not such a vicious person. I will fulfill you. Dissolve the marriage contract. You go back and tell your uncle and aunt yourself. When the time comes, it will be up to me to fan you hard, or uncle and aunt to fan you hard. After saying that, I turned around and left. Making it ugly is conducive to the development of the follow-up plot. It's too tiring to scold, so it's better to do it once and for all. Sitting in the car, I directly asked the driver to drive to the original owner's parents' house, who still can't load green tea. Host, I admire you a little. Didn't you go fishing? Why do you still watch people quarrel? How can it be interesting to see you scolding when you touch fishing? I was a little puzzled. System, is it really okay for us to change the plot like this? Where the devil has changed. I think it's very logical. The male protagonist will slap him if he dies, and if he can't fan, he will scold him. But aren't we chasing the plot of the wife crematorium? Hey, chasing wife crematorium is already a sunset red industry. There is no customer experience. What vicious female partners are popular now suddenly wake up to the plot, otherwise they can't let me take over as this system. System, is this something I can hear? The system was silent for a moment. Don't tell anyone. It's not for me to tell anyone. If you can't control your mouth, you can control other people's mouths, right? I was also a little curious about the system. System, what do you mean by customer experience? I won't tell you. After that, I asked no questions and the system didn't reply at all and started playing dead. When I got to my destination, I opened the door and the system said a word. Host, you are really gossipy. Didn't you start first? When I entered the house, my parents were sitting on the sofa, and when they saw me coming, the second elder smiled happily and hurriedly asked me to sit down and ask questions. The original family is happy. She is an only child, and the original father and Julius Edi's father have been friends for many years. So it is early. I have already ordered a baby kiss for the original body, and I can rest assured that I will marry the original body. I took advantage of the situation to start crying, adding fuel to the events of the past 2 days, and of course concealing that I was not very polite. Sure enough, the second elder was angry when he heard this, and Mr. Nicholas blew his beard and glared and said, "This kid is really the same as his father. It's not like it at all, and I don't know how his family educates his children." Mrs. Nicholas also chimed in, "That's it. How can we let our family be so angry? They love to tie the knot in this marriage. It's really not good. Let's get out of the marriage." To achieve the ending of the male protagonist and the female protagonist living happily together, I think about it as the fastest and hardest to get married. Yanyi, after I get married, I can sanction him in all directions, slap him every day. I don't go to hell. Who goes to hell? Guarantee. Let Julius Edi, an idiot, no longer plague any girl in this world. From what I know about Julius Edi's parents, if we have the idea of getting married, they will. I was anxious to put the matter of marriage on the agenda. Mr. Nicholas immediately called the male protagonist's father and roared. I feigned wiping tears from the side. Mrs. Nicholas put her arms around me, looking very distressed. I suddenly felt a little emotional. In the real world, my parents died early and I stayed at my aunt's house. Although my aunt did not treat me harshly, but only gave me the most basic material security in order not to cause trouble to my aunt, I began to work part-time and self-reliance after I went to university, successfully obtained a teaching certificate, and became a people's teacher after graduation. I actually experienced the warmth of family in the world of the novel, and I was really moved to tears for a while. It made my acting skills more real. Host, the acting is really good. How did these tears squeeze out? Teach me. It's not acting. Do you know the truth? Host, you have also been a scumbag. System, you're such a gossip. Mr. Nicholas began to comfort me after the call, and although I was very touched, I was a little unaccustomed to this kind of scene, so I made an excuse to go upstairs to rest. Sure enough, Julius Edi came to visit the next day. Mr. Nicholas went to work, and now it was just me and Mrs. Nicholas at home, and the two of us sat on the couch and looked coldly at Julius Edi standing in the doorway. Julius Edi greeted Mrs. Nicholas, but Mrs. Nicholas just snorted. Julius Edi was standing there, neither entering nor walking, and the air was quiet. Sweaty, right? Julius Edi turned his distressed eyes on me, and I pretended not to see it. Embarrassment to him for a while. I said to Mrs. Nicholas, "Mom, you go upstairs and rest first. I want to talk to him, alone." Julius Edi finally left the door and entered the house. I looked at his face, which was even more swollen than yesterday, and laughed out loud. He looked at me with a plaintive and loveless look. "Julius Edi, I haven't seen you for a day. Why are you so embarrassed?" "Thanks to you." I leaned back on the couch. "What did Aunt and Uncle say?" Julius Edi pursed his lips. "They say you have to be a daughter-in-law. I can marry you." Julius Edi's eyes widened in disbelief and he even moved to the side, 2 meters away from me. "No, big brother." The friendship of childhood sweethearts made my 2 slaps gone. Julius Edi looked at me, as if recalling something terrible, and he couldn't help but touch his face. Think about it for yourself, Julius Eddie. How much business value is for our 2 marriages? As long as you don't get sick, I won't. I worded, I won't slap you every day. Host, do you really want to marry him? Happy life together. Host, I feel sorry for you. If you feel sorry, I'll send me home now. Okay. No, I can't. After a while, Julius Eddie finally spoke. Albert and Nicholas, then you can come home with me first. Getting into Julius Eddie's car, I suddenly remembered something. Julius Eddie, Evelyn Temple is not still in your house now. Julius Eddie was silent for a moment. I glanced at him, and Julius Eddie hurriedly said, I've already found her a house. She should be packing up now. Julius Eddie glanced at my face and spoke quieter. Alas, forget it, I'll touch this girl in person in a moment. When I got to Julius Eddie's house and opened the door, Evelyn Temple was sitting on the couch in my pajamas. When she saw Julius Eddie return, she happily bounced up from the couch. Julius Eddie. When he saw me standing behind Julius Eddie, his excited expression instantly retracted, and he called timidly, Sister. Julius Eddie saw this and hurriedly said, Evelyn Temple, didn't you pack up and move out? Evelyn Temple had a hurt look on her face. Julius Eddie. I coughed at Evelyn Temple and said, Let's talk. As soon as the words ended, Julius Eddie and Evelyn Temple looked terrified. Julius Eddie, Alberta Nicholas, you can't hit a woman. I glanced at him faintly. Then I'll hit you, Julius Eddie said. Happy communication between the 2 of you. I entered the study with a terrified Evelyn Temple. Evelyn Temple. Evelyn Temple sat squarely in front of me with her legs together, like a student being disciplined. I looked at her and sighed. I was a bit of an occupational disease. What do you really like about Julius Eddie? Handsome, rich. I like honest students. Evelyn Temple. Men are unreliable. Julius Eddie can be warm with you when you are engaged to me. Even if you succeed in the position, he may give up on you for someone else. Your current position has no real power in the company. He can fire you at any time. And when you have nothing, how can you gain a foothold here? I heard that you majored in finance and were admitted to graduate school. Why would it be so good to give up for a man? What about the future? No matter how rich he is, the money is also his. Whether he gives it to you or not, the initiative is in his hands. You look at him as if it's very generous, but in fact, he is shrewd. In addition to the secretary's salary, has he ever given you an extra penny? Evelyn Temple hung her head. She was a little girl who had just graduated from college. She was not deeply involved in the world, and she had not yet reached the appearance of a poisonous woman. In the later stages of the plot, people are allowed to become bad little by little. As for the handsome, I looked at Evelyn Temple. You changed your clothes. I'll take you something good. Evelyn Temple looked at me puzzled, but changed her clothes anyway. I took the Evelyn Temple with me, as Julius Eddie watched. Destination, bars. Purpose, male model. Deafening music mixed with dim and warm lighting. Evelyn Temple sat across from me, surrounded by 5 handsome guys. At first, she couldn't let go, and then she completely fell under the superb business level of the handsome guy. At this moment, she walked towards me with a glass of wine and a radiant face. Sister, is this the world of rich people? Well, actually, I just became a rich man. I put my arm around Evelyn Temple's thin shoulders. Why give up this whole forest for Julius Eddie alone? When you have the money, what do you want? Invest in yourself and improve yourself to live the life you really want. Host, you are so positive. I am almost crying. Touch your fish. Evelyn Temple's gaze was firm. Sister, I'm going back to graduate school. Wine glasses collided, celebrating the addition of an independent and self-reliant young woman in the world. In the middle of the night, I helped the drunken Evelyn Temple to the hotel. She put her arms around my neck and grumbled, Sister, you don't know how hard it is to pretend to be stupid. I want to laugh myself when I spill coffee on his clothes, but that's what it's written in novels. I put her on the bed, and Evelyn Temple fell into a deep sleep. How can a beautiful and smart little girl be tied to a man? I pulled out my phone and called Julius Eddie. Have you found a house? Julius Eddie was woken up in a daze. Huh? I snorted impatiently. I told Evelyn Temple. Julius Eddie came to his senses. Oh, I've got it. Is it close to a university? It's close. It's close to the company. Evelyn Temple resigned. Pay her this month's salary. Hey. After the call, I looked at Evelyn Temple's sleeping face, tucked her quilt, and turned to go to the next room. Host, what are you doing on your side? People's teacher. No wonder. I always feel that you are very similar to my teacher's temperament. Do you also go to school over there? Of course. I was arrested as a system as soon as I graduated. As I heard this, I couldn't help but think that this system organization would not be like the K Park in Ammon. System, can you escape? The mechanical voice paused, sounding a little confused. Hey, why run away? Well, it seems that I was wrong. And what's your name? Host, why do you ask so much? Are you interested in me? Yes, ha. Then you listen. The mechanical sound disappeared, replaced by a crisp and nice male voice. My name is *. What is it? Ha 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 ha. It's our language over there. I awkwardly repeated the string, *. The system smiled, like a clear spring crossing his ears. I'm here. I was tingling when I heard it. It's so awkward. I'll give you a Chinese name. The system laughed again. Okay, I thought for a moment. How about a Sha Dan? Host, who do you think you are stupid again? H. How can I hear it? Host, what's your name? Andy Congreve. Then my name is Andy Strachey. The system paused, as if to ask for my consent. Is that okay? I always feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Okay, Andy Strachey. After saying that, my face was inexplicably a little hot. No, it's so awkward. I'll call you the system. The system chuckled lowly. Okay, but remember that my name is Andy Strachey. Got it. I hurriedly put on the quilt, closed my eyes and tried to fall asleep. Damn, I was picked up by a voice. I also have some speculation about the secrets of the system. Julius Eddy looked at me, with a complicated look as she helped Evelyn Temple pack her things. She didn't have much to take with her, just a few sets of clothes and some professional books. Evelyn Temple, are you really going to graduate school? You have to stop thinking about it. Julius Eddy, did I not slap you again? Evelyn Temple stood in the doorway, the sun shining on the girl's bright smiling face. Julius Eddy, thank you for taking care of me during this time. I have the fate to see you again. I put Evelyn Temple in the car, talked for a long time, and finally wished her the best for the future. Back in the room, I sat down face to face with Julius Eddy. It's time to talk about the two of us. Julius Eddy was a little embarrassed and stumbled. This wedding, do you have to tie the knot? I stomped back and said, so what do you want to do? Julius Eddy, is it possible? You say, let's have a. I thought about it. System, a lazy voice sounded. There is a book. I was stunned for a moment. I was still a little unaccustomed to him, not turning on the voice changer. Am I living happily with the male protagonist? It's hard to say. And how do you judge this thing? Our judging device is judged here. What if the final judgment fails? The world will start again. But, the system paused. I can open a back door for you. Host, don't marry him. It's a big deal. We don't want this world anymore. It's really capricious. Okay, got it. Step down. The system snorted, obey tilde. Julius Eddy and I bowed down. I am satisfied. My family agreed. Julius Eddy's family is compromised. Julius Eddy is swollen. As a business partner, I supervise his work at all times. 6 o'clock in the morning. Julius Eddy, it's 6 o'clock. It's time to get up and go to work, or I'll slap you. 8 o'clock in the evening. Julius Eddy, you're leaving work at 8 o'clock. Give me overtime, or I'll slap you. Julius Eddy wants to be in a relationship. Julius Eddy, how can you be in love at your age? Hurry up and work, or slap you. Julius Eddy's work has achieved remarkable results. Yes. Teach me how to negotiate this project. Don't be complacent, or I will slap you. Julius Eddy, I hate you all. Based on the heroine's memories, Mr. Nicholas' teachings, and Julius Eddy's shameless questioning, I took over the affairs of Nicholas' company step by step. 4 years later, I sat at my desk and looked at a resume. There was a knock on the office door, and Evelyn Temple's professional and capable figure appeared behind it. I smiled. We have officially hired Evelyn Temple. Julius Eddy stood aside with a dark face. I quipped, Evelyn Temple, this is your Julius Eddy. Evelyn Temple looked Julius Eddy up and down, and said seriously, "Sister, he is not Julius Eddy." Julius Eddy's face, it's not so swollen. As Evelyn Temple's words fell, everything in front of her began to blur, and the scene and characters gradually dissipated. Congratulations to the host for reaching the finale. After the scene dissipated, I was suspended in a starry sky. "Why don't you send me home?" That nice voice sounded, and at the same time there was a vague figure in front of me, slender in size, but I couldn't see the face clearly, and I could only vaguely identify it as a man. "Host, I still have one world left to deliver. Can you help me with another world?" I thought about it. Anyway, there is no one in the real world who cares about me, except for my career. I have nothing, and it doesn't hurt to go to another world. I looked at the figure. "Please." The system took a step forward. "Please, Andy Congreve." "Okay." When I opened my eyes, I saw a man in a suit sitting on the sofa. He frowned at me. "Changed your clothes. The world's information has been received. Broke up and went abroad to buy Yuguang." And Mr. Ba affectionately looked for a stand-in. "The poor heroine has a miserable background, and her pure appearance looks like an old friend. Keep it around as an ornament, and love to humiliate people when it's okay." The stubborn female protagonist is biased, but the male protagonist abuses his body and mind, is innocent and ruthless, and the male protagonist is crazy and looking for it everywhere. Host, this ending is the same as the previous one. Come on, watch you play. Seeing that I didn't say anything, the male protagonist Darren Tyler continued, "You can't catch up with a single hair of her even if you wear a white dress. Don't try to attract my attention in this way." Then he gave me another contemptuous look. "You don't even deserve to lift her shoes." Host, can you fan him? He's the Gold Lord now. You can't slap him. I met his gaze. You are worthy. You are worthy of her shoes. You are the world's #1 shoe lifter." He smiled disdainfully. "Of course I deserve it." Halfway through he said, he realized something was wrong, and frowned again. Then I said, "You don't care what clothes I wear, and I care so wide, whether the manure collection truck passes by your house or not." A taste of saltiness. Darren Tyler was silent, and I guess his inner drama was that it was the first time a woman had dared to talk to him like that. "Really, woman, you've managed to get my attention. Man, you've managed to get my attention, too. Magic can only be defeated with magic." Darren Tyler was silent again. "Half a day. Woman, you're special. Thank you, and so are you." The air froze for a few seconds. "Woman, we're going to talk nonsense, and we're going to hang you up and smoke." The air froze for a few more seconds. "Heh, interesting." Darren Tyler stood up and said in an unquestioning tone, "Let's go." "Where are you going?" "Woman, don't ask so much." "Okay, well, you're the gold owner. You're awesome." I sat side by side in the back seat of a Rolls-Royce with Darren Tyler, who looked at me with a heavy look. Not to be outdone, I looked back. It was too late for him to withdraw his gaze, so we kept looking at each other for a minute in the cramped space. "Boy, do you want to push the limits of embarrassment?" He was the first to break the silence. "You are very much like her, but not like her." "I'll say a few words about this." Darren Tyler quietly awaited my next step. I cleared my throat. "All in all, this is the case. This is the situation now. The specifics, everyone can see it. Maybe you don't understand it so well, but the meaning is that meaning. You don't have to guess if you don't know. This kind of thing has seen a lot. I just want to say that I understand everything, and I don't understand much if I don't understand." Darren Tyler withdrew his gaze. "Shut up, woman." Host, repeat that nonsense literature you just said. I'll remember it. You can learn something good. The rest of the journey was quiet and peaceful. We came to an upscale private clubhouse. Darren Tyler's friends are partying inside. When they saw Darren Tyler, they beckoned him to drink and play games, and I sat down with Darren Tyler, grabbed a handful of melon seeds, and started snorting. Gradually, I felt that the atmosphere was not quite right, and these sons and eldest ladies all looked at me intentionally or unintentionally, and whispering, "Host, I feel like they're muttering to you behind your back. It's okay. Isn't life to be talked about? If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move, and when they open fire, I'll fight back." No sooner had I finished answering the system than a voice rang out clearly throughout the room. Darren Tyler, you haven't brought anyone else to meet your buddies except Cherry Antonia. I said, how did you bring a new person today? Look at this look. The man made a reverie pause. It can't be a stand-in. The man looked at me with a mocking and contemptuous gaze. Well, the enemy opened fire. I looked at Darren Tyler, who didn't seem to have any intention of responding. I chuckled and looked at the person who was speaking. Actually, this has something to do with you. The man was stunned for a moment. What does it have to do with me? Yes. Do I have anything to do with you? As a stand-in? The man was stunned and didn't know what to say for a while. A man sitting next to him spoke, presumably on good terms with this person, sharp teeth. I don't know where Darren Tyler found it, and at first glance it's not Heroine's best girl. I scoffed. You speak so nicely. You must be Heroine's lady. The man choked and said angrily, that's your face. Otherwise how could it be here? What? Envy. Meimu will go for plastic surgery. The guy who was scolded earlier regained his combat effectiveness. You are good at paying lip service. What else will you do? Actually, I also know a little bit about fists and feet. Do you want to appreciate it? Darren Tyler laughed as he stared at the two people across from him and said, well, this has nothing to do with you. These two can't tell the situation and shoot blindly. The cannon is wrong. The other people looked at their noses, and they had no intention of finding fault with me. And the flow of the party continued, and everyone played games together. After 3 rounds of drinking, Darren Tyler was a little drunk, and I smoked the truth. His cheeks were a little red, and he asked me, why did you stay with me? I was stunned. Let me say a few words about this. Because I have a sick mom and a gambling dad. Seeing that the audience was silent, I began to tell them about the tragic life experience of the original heroine. I cried to the 2 big brothers before and after the party. They said that they wanted to give me money and give me a car. I was tempted to take it, but Darren Tyler politely declined for me. I hate him. On the way back, Darren Tyler started staring at me again. I'm really annoyed, big brother. What the hell do you want to do? He narrowed his eyes. Woman, you shouldn't look like her like that. I didn't even bother to scold him. I leaned back in frustration. Then you give me $1 million of my plastic surgery. Darren Tyler. He coughed. But it's because of your face that I kept you around. Darren Tyler. I sat up and looked at him, word by word. Are you cheap? He froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Host, I feel like you're scolding him. Perhaps a little drunk. Darren Tyler picked me up. Yes. I was silent for a moment and asked, do you still like her? Darren Tyler didn't speak, but nodded. I hate that iron is not steel, and my voice is unconsciously a little loud. If you like it, chase it. What's the use of finding a stand-in? Darren Tyler also took on the emotion. Then I can't catch up, can't I? I thought about it, and a bold idea took shape in my mind. I said, Darren Tyler, let's make a deal. I'll be your love teacher, help you recover by Yuguang, and you pay me a salary or rely on legitimate labor to make money. Darren Tyler looked at me suspiciously. Are you okay? I snorted. I've had 20 boyfriends since elementary school. Host, really? I'm bragging. And you believe it? Stupid. Darren Tyler was even more puzzled. You're not some sick mom. Gambling dad. I lied without changing my face. That doesn't delay my peach blossoms from blooming vigorously. And I can't stand it without the support of love. Darren Tyler thought for a moment. Deal. Back home, we started moving non-stop. Let's analyze why the 2 of them broke up. Darren Tyler, she's going to study abroad. I thought for a moment. This is certainly not the root cause. If you 2 are truly in love, why not be in a foreign relationship? Just send the message. Just send the video. What are you doing there on your private jet? Just fly if you have nothing to do. It's just a time difference when you go abroad, and it's not a yin and yang separation. Darren Tyler was silent. I found a small notebook, picked up the pen, and said, now tell me everything about the 2 of you, and I'll help you analyze it. Darren Tyler looked at me seriously and smiled, and then told the story of him and his white moonlight, Cherry Antonia. This is a very classic childhood sweetheart story. What's not classic is that Darren Tyler is a traditional and affectionate boss. Although he gave Cherry Antonia a sense of specificity and security, But Darren Tyler never gave Cherry Antonia courage to chase your dreams. Cherry Antonia is a painter, but he has average talent, and he can only be described as mediocre in the talented art industry. But Cherry Antonia is very fond of fine art, but Darren Tyler doesn't support it. Darren Tyler didn't understand why he would give up his wife's life to study abroad. At the airport, where they were about to separate from Cherry Antonia, they were still arguing about it. Darren Tyler said he could keep Cherry Antonia for the rest of his life, and Cherry Antonia just sighed. Again, Darren Tyler, you'll never understand me. The young girl smiled with relief and walked decisively. Break up. I wish you to find someone who is really right for you. The last word dropped from the tip of the pen, and I stared at Darren Tyler and said, Darren Tyler, you don't know how to love someone. He frowned. Woman, don't talk nonsense. I sneered. You don't know how to respect a person yet. Woman, I interrupted him. Shut up. If you want to get Cherry Antonia back, just listen to me. Chasing a person, the core is 3 points. Affirming its value, increasing its wealth, and enriching its spirit. I tossed the notebook to Darren Tyler. What are you doing? Remember. Host. In the memory. In the memory. I didn't let you remember. Leave it alone. First of all, you have to learn to respect people, and call others, women. Don't you have a name? Darren Tyler picked up the pen with a dark face, and reluctantly began to take notes. Respect people. First of all, put her on an equal footing with you. You can gallop to the mall to realize your dreams. Why can't Cherry Antonia? You can make money to support your family. Why can't Cherry Antonia? You have to respect her from the bottom of your heart. Recognize what she wants to do and fully support her. Don't always be domineering, and stuff her into your life like an accessory. She has her own thoughts and pursuits, and you must stand in her perspective when thinking about your future, thinking about what kind of life she wants. She loves art so much. How could she be willing to stick to your home for the rest of her life? She has her own world, rich and splendid. Darren Tyler stared at me in a daze, and I snorted. Look at what I'm doing. I have words on my face. Take notes. Darren Tyler looked down. Oh. I picked up the glass on the coffee table, and took a sip of water. Secondly, go greasy. You have a good skin now, and your behavior is very greasy. You know. He paused. Yes. Then why are there so many women who like me? They don't like you. They like your money. Darren Tyler asked. What about you? First of all, I don't like you. Secondly, I like your money too. I paused. What do you say? Do you or do I speak? Now remember, men's greasy techniques. First, don't always want to teach others. Darren Tyler pursed his lips and muttered. Where did I get oil? Second, when someone gives you a lesson, don't argue with reason. Darren Tyler honestly bowed his head. You're going to ask ignorantly. Really? I don't know yet. Darren Tyler looked up. Really? I don't know yet. It's good. It's a quick learner. Third, judge others less and examine yourself more. Remove your boss quotes from your mind. What did you manage to attract my attention? You are playing with fire. Don't talk about it in the future. It's embarrassing. I continued. All in all, don't think too highly of yourself and think that you are the best in heaven. Even if you are really good, if you can't tell the line between arrogance and self-confidence, stay humble. Okay, that's the end of the theory part. Go back and memorize it, and I'll test you tomorrow. We will start doing it tomorrow. Darren Tyler frowned. Why don't you start now? Learning should be gradual. Is actually too late. I want to leave work. Okay. Darren Tyler put away his notebook. He looked at me and paused. Rest early. Eve Dalton. I nodded in satisfaction. System. Rest early. Andy Congreve. What kind of fun are you following? The next morning, I was woken up by the maid. Eve Dalton. Darren Tyler told you to go to breakfast. I looked at the time in a daze. 6 in the morning. Neurotic. I rubbed my eyes and went downstairs. Darren Tyler sitting at the table and having finished eating. Eve Dalton. Follow me to the company after eating, and teach me practical operations after handling work. Isn't it true that you can't finish your work at the company and then call me there? Money is hard to make. I finished my breakfast with a stomach full of grievances, packed up and went to the company with him. When I arrived, Darren Tyler was in the office and I was looking up Cherry Antonia. Cherry Antonia really loves art. She is very hard working abroad, studying and persevering in art exhibitions, and gradually became famous. At the same time, with the help of the plug-in of the system, I also discovered a niche fetish of Cherry Antonia. She likes to draw books for her CP, open a trumpet to produce food on various platforms. Darren Tyler was done with his work, and I put the trumpets of Cherry Antonia's platforms in front of him. Let's do what she likes first. She likes CP. You try to eat the CP she likes, and then read her posts. Darren Tyler flipped through Cherry Antonia's homepage with a complicated expression, but some of them are too men. I looked at Darren Tyler sincerely. It's okay, you're going to love it too. Darren Tyler, I'd better take a look at her paintings in the exhibition first. To my surprise, Darren Tyler looked at Cherry Antonia's paintings for a whole day, and he couldn't read enough on his computer. He printed out the paintings from the Cherry Antonia exhibition and sat on the couch in his office, and looked at them one by one until late at night. I think this is the first time Darren Tyler has really stepped into the world of Cherry Antonia. From that day on, without my urging, Darren Tyler spontaneously began to take the initiative to understand Cherry Antonia's preferences. He watched Cherry Antonia's dramas, chased her anime, read her novels, and ate her CP. He followed the accounts of all platforms of Cherry Antonia, and discussed the plot with sincerity in the comment area, praising Cherry Antonia's superb painting style. A month later, Cherry Antonia himself finally noticed Darren Tyler, a young fan, and replied to a long comment about his fan comics. I was sleeping at Darren Tyler's house when I picked up the phone in a daze, and Darren Tyler's voice was very excited. Teacher, Cherry Antonia got me back. How do I get her back? Come on. I got up and rushed to Darren Tyler's company, and he was jumping up and down in the office, not at all as steady as he had at first sight. And sure enough, CP was driving people crazy. Seeing me coming, he hurriedly handed the phone to me, pointing to Cherry Antonia and replying to him with the word, "Thank you." He looked excited, and I cleared my throat and pretended to be unfathomable. Don't worry, it's just us heading. The first step to victory. System, Andy Congreve. You can hold more than a garbage bag. I taught you to curse, and I didn't let you use it on me. Darren Tyler reverently said, "Teacher, please." I thought about it, returned the phone to Darren Tyler, and said, "You blow a rainbow fart first, and then add a sentence at the end. I don't know if it's an illusion. I feel that my wife's painting style is somewhat similar to Cherry Antonia's painting style, which is very comfortable." Darren Tyler gave me a thumbs up. Wonderful, wonderful. After Darren Tyler replied, he received a private message from Cherry Antonia that night. You know Cherry Antonia. Darren Tyler is crazy. This was the first time Cherry Antonia had spoken to him since she went abroad. With this beginning, everything goes smoothly. The two of them often knock CP together, and Cherry Antonia is very surprised, thinking that this person's taste is so similar to her, and she has seen everything she has seen. Nonsense. This is an open book exam. Of course, Darren Tyler is not all to his liking. Childhood sweethearts for so many years, and the two are still quite compatible. Cherry Antonia and Darren Tyler often chatted late into the night on that app, and because of the jet lag, Darren Tyler chatted with Cherry Antonia day and night. The two of them, as strangers on the internet, became confidants again. 2 months later, Cherry Antonia offered to add Darren Tyler's contact information. Darren Tyler was moved to tears and gave her a hug. System, excited to be excited. What to hold? Leave it alone. Darren Tyler sent her Weshit QR code. A contact who had been silent for a long time suddenly sent a message. Cherry Antonia, it's you. Teacher, how to get back? I was also excited. You play stupid, and give her a question mark. Darren Tyler did. Cherry Antonia, are you? Crayon Shin-chan's eyes. Darren Tyler replied with 2 question marks at my pointing, and then said, are you Cherry Mruko? Large-scale horse-catching relatives and friends recognized the scene. Cherry Antonia, I didn't expect you to have such a side. Darren Tyler, I didn't expect that the wife I was concerned about was you. Cherry Antonia, you said you liked Cherry Antonia's paintings. Is it true? Darren Tyler, before, I only loved part of you, and after looking at each of your paintings, I fell in love with all of you. You said at the time, wish me to find the right fit for me. I'm pretty sure, I don't want anyone but you. It's just that I didn't love you the right way back then. Can you give me another chance? Cherry Antonia. The other party fell silent for a long time. We were both nervous. System, Andy Congreve. I'm so nervous. All three of us were nervous. 10 minutes later, the other party finally sent a message. I'll go back to China in 2 years, and I'll talk about it then. Fortunately, if you don't refuse, there is a play. Darren Tyler sighed. It's going to take another 2 years to meet. I was speechless. You won't go to her if they can't come back. When will she have her next exhibition? Book tickets and go. Darren Tyler took me to the far side of the ocean. He said that without a teacher, he was afraid that he would not play well. On the day of the exhibition, the two of us squatted in the corner with professional communication equipment. Cherry Antonia was personally introducing a painting, and Darren Tyler was nervously standing far away from her. I whispered, success or failure is here. What are you afraid of with me here? Don't be cowardly. Go on. Darren Tyler swallowed and walked forward slowly. Cherry Antonia, who was explaining, froze when she saw Darren Tyler, and I quickly said, don't stand stupidly. Didn't she just say how the color of that painting is? Follow her words. Darren Tyler, Cherry Antonia, what was the inspiration for the color treatment you just talked about? Cherry Antonia reacted, and Darren Tyler's words continued. After introducing the painting, the two finally had a space for private chat. Cherry Antonia, why are you here? I pinched the microphone and said, say something nice. Darren Tyler, I'm here to see an exhibition of my favorite artists. Cherry Antonia smiled. It feels like you've changed a lot. Darren Tyler, I've thought a lot since you left. Cherry Antonia blinked. Then you're pretty self-reflective. I said, don't lie to her. Darren Tyler, actually, I met someone who taught me what the right love is. Some tears welled up in my eyes. This is the mission of being a teacher. Cherry Antonia was curious. Who is it? Darren Tyler, she's here. You two can meet. With that, he pointed to the corner where I was hiding. I crouched on the ground and looked up, and waved awkwardly at the two of them. Hey, the situation is a bit awkward. The three of us were at the same table, one on one side. Cherry Antonia crossed her arms. So you were looking for a double for me, in the first place? Darren Tyler bowed his head, like a schoolboy. Cherry Antonia snorted. I knew how you could easily change yourself. Cherry Antonia looked at me again. Sister, how do you know that Cherry Mruko is me? I'll say a few words about this. Darren Tyler couldn't hold back a laugh. Cherry Antonia glanced past him, and he lowered his head again. I looked left and right and said, Cherry Antonia, listen to me. Cherry Antonia smiled. Thank you, Eve Dalton. I know I don't have to explain anything. After more than 10 years of affection, it has not been exhausted. Sincerity is always nirvana. I went from being Darren Tyler's love teacher to being a love bodyguard for both of them. Exotic relationships are not that easy, and there are always some small frictions between two people. Cherry Antonia sent me a Weshit complaint against Darren Tyler. Darren Tyler sent me a Weshit message asking me how to coax. Later, I was troublesome, so I directly pulled a group chat of 3 people, and said something in the group. Both of them are tough seeds, and sometimes neither of them is willing to compromise. Cherry Antonia, Darren Tyler, you're knocking that pair. It's really tasteless. Darren Tyler, you don't know how art is a great artist. It wasn't until 2 years later that Cherry Antonia returned home. I went from being a peacemaker on Weshit to a walkie-talkie. The two of them quarreled. Cherry Antonia, Eve Dalton, you go tell him. Darren Tyler, Eve Dalton, you tell her. I mean, you two are just separated by a wall. Later, Cherry Antonia and Darren Tyler got married, and I was given a separate table and made a big cake, and I stood next to Cherry Antonia and watched, as she held Darren Tyler's hand in a crisp white wedding dress. I cried with real emotion. The system said angrily, Andy Congreve, don't cry. There are 8 handsome sports students at your table. Since then, Darren Tyler, Cherry Antonia and I have lived happily ever after. The scene gradually dissipates. Congratulations to the host for reaching the finale. This time I didn't appear in the starry sky, but stood in a room. There are countless small screens in the room, and under each screen is a corresponding book, and countless worlds are projected on the screen. The door of the house opened, and a very young man walked in. Handsome face, fair and delicate. This is your planet. Clever. Andy Congreve. When did you guess I'm an alien? When you said I was like your teacher, at that time, I guessed that it must belong to a civilization that is similar to our culture, but much more technologically advanced than ours. I looked at the screens and continued, I guess you have commercialized these worlds, taken these novels from our Earth, made them into worlds, and then selected an Earthling to complete these worlds, and sold them as an entertainment project to the humans of your planet. And the customers you were talking about at that time were the people who would buy these worlds. The man laughed. It's really smart, but it's not about selling these worlds. The technology can't be reached. It's an experience. The customer can attach to the protagonist, who has been attached to you Earthlings through the instrument consciousness, and experience the character's life in an immersive way, which should be regarded as an immersive reading novel. The man curled his eyes. Then guess who I am? I looked at the man. How many young ladies have been in contact with these two worlds? How much can I see? The man's casual temperament can't hide the nobility on his body, according to his work attitude towards the system, and so high. I thought about it and said, if this is a business, then you should be one of the heirs of this family, but you have always been in the system. You're paddling, so you're definitely not the first heir, and you're so willful. You're the little master of this family. I teased. The little master graduated from college and was pressed back to the family business experience. It's my chosen host, ha 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 ha. He looked at me earnestly. Does Andy Congreve still want to go back? To be honest, it's hard to go back to an ordinary life after experiencing fantasy. I'm just a little bit sorry for my career. I didn't speak. He continued, don't go, Andy Congreve. You're so funny. I can't bear to. You say we're so close. Your name is Andy Congreve, and my name is Andy Strachey. His eyes sparkled. I'm simply your destiny, young master. You are so humorous. I'm going to be a teacher next. Okay, Andy Congreve will pick all the scripts first. The end.